Water is at the center of economic and social development. It is vital to maintain health, grow food, generate energy, manage the environment, and create jobs. However, more than 700,000 miles of waterways, about 51% of assessed river and stream miles, are impaired by pollution. Aside from contamination, some major human activities including deforestation and modification of stream flow have negative impacts on the environment and the water cycle.
But first, what is the water cycle? The water cycle is also known as the hydrological cycle, which is a systematic pattern. Here, water moves in and out of the Earth's atmosphere in a perfect rhythm. The process in the entire water cycle involves various stages, which are 1. Evaporation, 2. Condensation, 3. Precipitation, 4. Infiltrations, and 5. Evapotranspiration. All the above functions are stages in the path where water flows as it moves around the Earth in solid, which is in the form of ice, liquid, and in gaseous state, which is in the form of vapor.
Human impact on the environment or anthropogenic impact refers to changes to biophysical environments and to ecosystem, biodiversity, and natural resources caused directly or indirectly by humans. How are humans affecting the water cycle negatively? Hydropower dams degrade water quality along rivers, while irrigation removes water from its natural source and often causes leaching and runoff where it is used. Deforestation is having a major impact on the water cycle. As local and global climates change, we are becoming increasingly aware of our impacts on nature. There is considerable evidence that humans are responsible for disruptions and changes to water cycles.
In Le Chatelier's principle, if a dynamic equilibrium is disturbed by changing the conditions, the position of equilibrium shifts counteract the change to re-establish an equilibrium. Relatively, all of these human actions alter the flow of the water cycle negatively, which shifts the position of equilibrium in the water cycle to counteract the change, causing major problems like extreme flooding, depletion of aquatic ecosystems, etc.
Apart from that, invasive species introduced also by people also causes disruption to the water cycle. Invasive species are capable of causing extinctions of native plants and animals, reducing biodiversity, competing with native organisms for limited resources, and altering habitats. This can result in huge economic impacts and fundamental disruption of coastal and Great Lakes ecosystems. Thousands of invasive species worldwide are notorious for their distinctive habits, destructive potential, and ecological damage. Other invaders seem to have little environmental impact, but it can be many years after a species is introduced before adverse consequences appear. Aquatic ecosystems, as well as the water cycle, seem at particular risk from invasive species because of threats to biodiversity and human needs for water resources.
There are a lot of different ways for invasive species to do well in new environments, and epigenetics is one of those ways. Epigenetics is a study of how behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change DNA sequence, but they can change how a certain organism reads a DNA sequence. As an example, epigenetics could play a role in plant invasions by contributing to the phenotypic variation and adaptation of invasive plant populations, which requires linking epigenetic mechanisms to the traits of invaders, their abiotic and biotic interactions, and how these are linked to the fitness advantages of invaders and thus adaptation. Many scientists think that the spread of exotic species is one of the most serious, yet largely unrecognized threats to natural ecosystem and overall environmental balance. Further, it is a permanent, non-reversible form of pollution.
As a result of the information above, nations like the Philippines must develop appropriate water management policies to lessen the harm that water pollution causes to human health. Invasive species have an impact on water quality in addition to changing the relationship between predators and prey and the food chain.
Though we humans can make a change, we must be responsible enough for disruptions and changes happening in our water cycle.